So I wanted to get Glenn's take to see what he has to say about is a diagnosis of PKD a death sentence? Running?
Yeah,
all right.
It's running.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So my name is Thomas Weimbs. I'm a professor here at UC Santa Barbara, and my lab works on polycystic kidney disease. So, hi. I'm cycling here with Glenn Frommer, who is a patient with PKD. And riding all the way across America from left to right, west to east, to raise awareness for PKD and to raise funds for PKD research. So there's Glenn. And so we're cycling here on a bike path, just heading south from UCSB. Glenn is on his way to Malibu. I'm just gonna go downtown with him. I hope this videotaping works, and I hope I'm not going to crash here. We'll find out.
Safety first.
Safety first. Of course, we're going really fast. We're approaching the speed of sound approximately, so we'll see what happens. I had some questions for Glenn, and in particular, I've seen, I have a lot of friends with PKD. Some of them, we work together. One question that I see a lot coming up on social media when people are first diagnosed with PKD, it can be a devastating diagnosis. People don't know what to expect, and oftentimes they think a diagnosis of PKD is a death sentence. Their life is over. There's nothing you can do. Unfortunately, oops, I'm gonna scoot over here. Unfortunately, oftentimes they get told, hey, there's nothing you can do about it. Just wait for your kidneys to fail. Then you're gonna be on dialysis and so on. So I wanted to get Glenn's take to see what he has to say about is a diagnosis of PKD a death sentence?
Yeah, great question. When I was first diagnosed in 2013, I said to the radiologist who read the films, just give me whatever you give to patients with PKD to get rid of it. And he said, yeah, that's not the way it works. And his quote unquote was, you're just going to have to wait for your kidneys to fail. We'll get you onto dialysis, and then hopefully you'll live long enough on dialysis where we can get you on a kidney transplant list. And that's the way you're going to survive this. And I immediately thought that can't be the answer. There has to be something interventionally that we as PKD patients can do to slow down the growth of cysts and to retard that growth rate to give us more time with our own kidneys. And time is really important because the great research that's going on in labs like Dr. Weimbs' lab at UCSB needs time to better understand mechanisms, to test treatments, to test potential cures. And if we can build time into our lives where the cysts aren't going to overtake the kidney function, it increases the probability that the research that's going on in the labs will one day have a positive impact on our kidney health.
All right, we had the stop sign here, safety first.
There we go.
All right.
So the approach is lengthening the health span of our kidneys with everything that we can possibly do, and taking proactive steps to not accept it as a death sentence, to not accept it as a written eventuality that our kidneys will fail, do the things interventionally that we can to promote not just kidney health, but overall health. So first and foremost, overall health. We've got to do the right things to maintain health in all of our systems: cardiovascular, pulmonary, musculoskeletal systems, so that we're in tip-top shape outside of our kidneys. Super important to maintain good nutrition, health, exercise, hydration to stay in good shape. And then with specifics to PKD infected kidneys, we've got to do the right things from a dietary and a supplementation perspective to make sure that we're maintaining adequate kidney health. So products like Keto Citra, with the right kind of ingredients, awfully important. Take it twice a day, tolerate it really well. It's certainly a huge help in my fight against PKD. Also, looking at the current state of research and clinical trials about off-script medications that have been proven in rodent models to slow down cyst growth. Things like metformin, which are not indicated for PKD just yet, but which have shown promise in slowing down cyst growth. Pravastatin for keeping both cholesterol low, but also positive impacts on kidney health. Maintaining our right dietary intakes for things that are high in nutrients and low in the bad stuff. Sugars, fructose, sucrose, really bad for metabolic health overall and for kidney health. Those are things to be avoided. Ketogenic diets. So taking all the right proactive steps to do all we can to stave off the ravages of PKD. And so if you just simply took the diagnosis and said, there's nothing I can do, in my opinion, that's exactly the wrong approach to take. The whole family's stopping here.
All right. It's a busy, by the way, a busy Sunday morning. Happens to be Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. We're cycling pretty well. All right.
So Thomas, the bottom line to your question is, you can certainly take this diagnosis laying down and waiting for the inevitability, or you can become actively engaged in managing your own health, getting regular testing, taking the right steps, and doing all you can to buy more time and to allow the researchers to do their great work and come up with the right treatments and the right cures for this disease.
Right. Good. Excellent. Let me just flip the phone around for a second to make sure we're still recording. Yes, we are. Excellent. Okay. Great answer, Glenn. I think, I just want to emphasize, again, I know a lot of people that have polycystic kidney disease. Every single one of them had wonderful careers. I know some that are retired. Some of them have had kidney transplants. Great careers. Some very high power people you wouldn't believe. They're in top positions. I don't think, and maybe Glenn, you agree, there's nothing should really hold somebody back. Just by knowing they have polycystic kidney disease, you can do whatever you want, achieve whatever you want. At least that's my opinion. What do you think about that? Careers and how careers might be impacted by the disease, if at all?
Yeah. Well, we know that polycystic kidney disease is very indiscriminate. It doesn't care what socioeconomic class, what gender, what race, creed, color, nationality you are. It impacts all of those groups equally. And so certainly it impacts the rich and the poor, the well-educated and the less well-educated. For those of us who are already active, it doesn't have to change our lifestyles. We should be paying attention to it and taking the right steps to take care of our health, but it doesn't have to force people who are working to stop working, or people who are active to become less active and become couch potatoes. We should be maintaining our lifestyles and doing all the right healthy things. I think the obligation that we in the PKD community have, both to ourselves and to one another in the community, is to use our resources to get involved and make a difference. Whether your resource is time and you can volunteer, whether it's your intellect and you can get involved in helping the community, whether it's money and you can donate to the cause, or whether it's creating events like the Ride for PKD, we all have an obligation to get involved on behalf of ourselves and the community to help one another out. So I'd implore those with resources to find ways to deploy those resources on behalf of the community. It doesn't just help you out, it helps all of us out. We're all in search of hope when it comes to fighting this disease. And in order to have the right ways of fighting the disease, we need money and time, energy, and resources to do so. So let's all get involved, regardless of what resources we do have, to help both ourselves and those who may not be able to help themselves because they lack those resources.
Great, thank you, Glenn. Excellent. We're getting near to the street again. We have been cycling on a bike path.
Yeah.
So I think we better stop here before we crash into any cars. Okay, excellent. I'm really appreciative, Glenn, that you're doing this whole journey across America, and that you stopped by here in Santa Barbara to visit us. We just finished the visit with lots of students that all came. It was a great turnout. And I think it's very motivating, to budding researchers to actually see what they're researching about and why they're doing it. So thank you, Glenn, for coming here.
Thank you, Dr. Weimbs. Thanks to you, your team at the lab, and the great turnout this morning. It's really energizing for me, and I appreciate everyone's support.